It's that time of the day. It's been a while since I made a video going over your Assassin's Creed hot takes, so let's bring that back. You know, I put out a community post asking for your guys' hot takes, and I did this months ago. But since that post, Assassin's Creed Shadows got delayed, which meant I had to abandon that video because a lot of the hot takes were focused on Shadows, with the intention that it would be released in November. But regardless, I asked again quite recently, and you guys delivered. Now, do not take any offense to me reading out your hot take and potentially shitting on it. It's all in good fun. Or is it? So yeah, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. And with that said, let's get into your Assassin's Creed hot takes. Syndicate is actually a good game. The DLC, world exploration, graphics and customization are top tier for AC. Okay, it looks like we're starting off with a Syndicate hot take. Now, the thing with Syndicate, which I've said in a few of my videos, is the one bad thing about it is the story, which if anything is a problem with most Assassin's Creed games, to be honest. The story to me is what makes a game good. Without a good story, I don't really care if the game has good visuals or exploration, as you said. A good story is the most important. There's also the parkour and the combat being incredibly underwhelming in this game. However, you did mention the DLCs, which to be fair I agree with. Apart from the Last Maharaja, which is genuinely the worst DLC in the franchise. In fact, I literally put it as the worst in my ranking. The Jack the Ripper and Dreadful Crimes DLCs are top tier. Syndicate's world is also pretty good. It's very atmospheric and true to the Victorian London, something Ubisoft has always been good at, which is the visual side and feeling of their worlds. You also mentioned graphics, which fair enough are pretty good. And lastly, the customization, which I have to kind of disagree with. The crafting system, for example, feels so unnecessary. Leveling up and conquering the boroughs to unlock more weapons and gear feels kind of silly, as the game pretty much gives you everything you need by just progressing. Also, the skill tree kind of felt like a downgrade in my opinion to Unity, which was a game that came out before, and that makes no sense at all. Oh boy, this is a lot to break down. Ezio fanboys are really gonna hate on this. Comment: Ezio is the most overrated character in Assassin's Creed. I love Ezio, he's my second favorite character so far. But I feel that fans are just too biased with Ezio, even going as far as to say Ezio can solo the entire Assassin's Creed universe. No character, not even Connor, could solo the entire Assassin's Creed universe. I can see why people would say Cassandra or Alexios, but Ezio? Come on. Altair, he may be the most skilled, but that doesn't mean he could solo the entire AC universe. Blinded by nostalgia and blinded by bias. Okay, as a fellow Ezio fanboy, first of all, that one hurt. However, I won't completely dismiss this outrageous hot take, because I do agree with some parts. For example, he mentioned that fans can be too biased when it comes to Ezio, and honestly, I 100% agree. I used to put out Assassin's Creed polls on my channel, and no matter the question, Ezio would always win that poll, even when it didn't make any sense. I could genuinely ask who the strongest character is, and put Ezio, Connor, Alexios, and Yasuke as options, and I kid you not, Ezio would win that poll by a landslide every time. But let's not act like Ezio doesn't deserve the love. We have to admit that without Ezio, Assassin's Creed probably would not even exist as it does today. The franchise wouldn't be nearly as popular. Even people who do not play Assassin's Creed have probably heard of or played Assassin's Creed 2 and know Ezio. So yeah, he's a huge reason for the series' success. Now, the hot take made a claim that the people are blinded by nostalgia, which I think is a bit harsh. The reason why Ezio is loved is because his games were genuinely great, and that is thanks to the top-notch writing for his character across the trilogy. It's simple, write a good character and they will be memorable. The only other characters in the franchise that really come close to Ezio's level in my opinion are Bayek and Edward Kenway. So yeah, overall your hot take is definitely a hot one, spicy even, and I'm all for seeing different opinions like this. Out of all the games in Ezio's trilogy, Brotherhood is the weakest for me, as in I like 2 and Revelations more. You know, I also feel the exact same way, which I think is unpopular as Brotherhood is a lot of people's favourite game from the Ezio trilogy. However, I feel like Brotherhood's story compared to Assassin's Creed 2 and Revelations was slightly weaker, and I also did not like Rome at all in Brotherhood. The amount of better cities in Assassin's Creed 2, whether it was Florence, Venice, Monteriggioni, and a few others are way better than just Rome. And to be honest, I think Constantinople in Revelations is a much better setting than Rome in Brotherhood. However, I totally understand if people like Brotherhood over the other two, as it's considered the peak of Ezio, and it is also a step up in gameplay and visuals compared to Assassin's Creed 2 massively. Okay, this hot take is from AC Nerd, which by the way, shout out to this person. They are like one of my OG subscribers, I think. Anyway, this person said, my Assassin's Creed hot take is that Odyssey is still a better game than Unity. I enjoy both games though. Now, of course, this hot take is entirely subjective. I for one agree. If the option was given to me where I had to play either Unity or Odyssey for one whole week straight, I would pick Odyssey. If you were to say which is a better Assassin's Creed game, then yeah, 100% that's Unity. The stealth is way better, the parkour is better, the Assassins versus Templars is actually a thing, but this hot take just mentions the game. And for me, it's Odyssey. There's a lot more content, the story is better, which is saying a lot because I found Odyssey's story quite weak, and even the world of ancient Greece is just as stunning. I'm not saying Paris is not, but I'm talking about just overall beauty and size. This might be a hot take of my own, but I'd even say that Cassandra or Alexios is a better protagonist than Arno. But hey, that's just me. Assassin's Creed Shadows will be a failure because it's woke, and that's literally it. Okay, first of all, shut the fuck. Lucy's voice actor should have been replaced instead of having a character killed off. I 100% agree with this hot take, even though I don't really think it's a hot take. Lucy's death in Brotherhood came as a huge shock, and sure, the whole betrayal situation was quite memorable, but let's be honest, it was pretty unnecessary. Lucy was an important character from the start, and a potential romance which, let's be honest, was going to happen with Desmond was a big part of the modern day storyline, and why it was so good back then. So Ubisoft deciding to kill her off felt like a rushed decision that kind of left many unanswered questions. The argument that they should have replaced her voice actor instead of killing her makes a lot of sense. If it was a behind the scenes issue with the actress Kristen Bell, replacing her would have been a lot easier of a transition. We've seen plenty of games and shows swap out actors without it being too obvious for the audience, and that's what Ubisoft should have done. Maybe we could have seen her still alive in the modern day today, and maybe Desmond's story would be so different. Imagine how much more impactful it could have been if Lucy had stuck around, possibly playing a bigger role in later games. In fact, we'd probably have her as a main character over Layla Hassan in the RPG games. So yeah, replacing her voice actor instead of cutting her story short could have been a better choice. First comment. Well, I don't think you were the first comment, but you know, we move. Anyways, my hot take is that Assassin's Creed Shadows is going to flop. Not because it's going to be bad, but because of Ubisoft's reputation right now. You know, there is some truth to this. Will Assassin's Creed Shadows flop in terms of sales? Maybe, maybe not. Nobody knows the true sales number. All we know is Tom Henderson reiterating that the sales are solid. However, that can mean anything. But honestly, just hearing the name Ubisoft already turns off a lot of people. Let's say Shadows turns out to be a great Assassin's Creed game. It's still likely to get review bombed on Steam, Metacritic, and receive a lot of negative attention. Why? Well, there's two big reasons. That's Ubisoft's approach for the game, and the main one, I guess, the black guy. As an Assassin's Creed fan, it's frustrating to see how the public is reacting to this. I'm sure many of you feel the same way, and you try to avoid the constant negativity, but let's be honest, it's overpowering real Assassin's Creed content. And don't even get me started on those culture war, anti-woke, miserable f***s out there. The amount of misinformation about this game that's spreading and getting hundreds of thousands of views is insane. From Yasuke's removal, Yasuke being modeled after George Floyd, which is disgusting, Shadow's pre-orders being under 1,000, and even Assassin's Creed Hex is apparently the gayest Assassin's Creed game to date. All of these are fake rumors. The crazy thing is, all of this misinformation is fueled by more misinformation, and a lot of it comes from one particular website named The Park Place, which, fun fact, is a website created by an anti-woke journalist named John F. Trent. There is also a YouTuber with over 100,000 subscribers who deserves no attention, making up that he has fake sources. But yeah, all we can do as Assassin's Creed fans is just ignore it, which is pretty hard to do nowadays. Charles Lee is the best villain. To be honest, the villains in Assassin's Creed are not usually the strongest aspect of these games, which I find to be fucking stupid. Except for characters like Cesare Borgia, Charles Lee and Abu Alim, most of the villains in the series are pretty weak, let's be honest. But one thing I will say is that Charles Lee's transformation from being a lackey, basically Haytham Kenway's personal into a full-blown cold villain with no remorse is amazing. The way his voice actor nailed that transition from sounding scared and unsure to becoming a cold evil figure was incredible. You can really feel his character shift throughout the performance. Plus, without Charles Lee, we would not have gotten this iconic moment. Give me Lee! The Assassin's Creed franchise needs to stop at any time soon before it destroys itself. The community is already diverse in terms of liking the games and how authentic they are in comparison to the RPG ones. This hot take has some good points, but I disagree with a lot of it. The thing about Assassin's Creed is the franchise is so split in terms of fan opinions, as you said, especially because of the different direction it's taken over the years. But I don't think that means the series should be destroyed. If anything, it highlights the real problem, which is the fan base itself. Let's be honest, Assassin's Creed fans are pretty toxic. There are people who attack anybody who likes the RPG style of games, and then there are others who bash the older fans for not accepting the changes. It creates a divide in the community, which is where a lot of the frustration comes from. Instead of focusing on the games themselves, the hot take could point out that this toxicity among fans is the bigger issue. Also, yeah, 13 mainline games is a lot, but there are franchises out there with even more games that have way smaller fan bases, and those series are still doing fine. So instead of hoping Assassin's Creed dies off just because it feels overdone to some people, it's better to wish that the franchise improves. That's a way more constructive mindset than just wanting it to end. Ghost of Tsushima's stealth is better than most of the AC series. Ooh, okay. First of all, Ghost of Tsushima is an amazing game. In fact, I could even say it's better than most or almost all Assassin's Creed games, which is a hot take in itself. But I don't think its stealth is better than most of the Assassin's Creed series. And that's coming from somebody who actually platinumed Ghost of Tsushima, which I almost never do for games. The stealth in Ghost of Tsushima is good, but you have to look at the bigger picture with Assassin's Creed. For example, social stealth is a key part of Assassin's Creed that Ghost of Tsushima just doesn't really have. Blending into crowds, sitting on benches to hide, or just using your surroundings to conceal yourself are things that make Assassin's Creed stand out. Ghost of Tsushima is more straightforward. Sneak up, stab, hide and repeat. It doesn't really have the same variety when it comes to stealth mechanics. In Assassin's Creed, you can use the environment to your advantage in so many creative ways. You got bushes, haystacks, rooftops, water, plus gadgets like smoke bombs, poison darts, and whistling to lure enemies. The stealth is more diverse and dynamic. The thing with Ghost of Tsushima is that it sticks to traditional sneaking and direct kills, and it doesn't really offer the same level of variety. And then you have the different settings. Most Assassin's Creed games take place in dense urban cities, where stealth really shines. In contrast, Ghost of Tsushima has a big open world with a lot of empty space, so stealth isn't as central to the gameplay. And of course, we cannot forget the iconic hidden blade, which is a stealth tool like no other. So while Ghost of Tsushima as a game is incredible, I don't really think it beats Assassin's Creed when it comes to stealth. The music has not hit those high levels since Assassin's Creed Black Flag. Now this is a hot take, and it's one that I massively disagree with. While Black Flag had an incredible soundtrack, especially with the sea shanties and the naval themes, saying the music has not reached those high levels since then doesn't give enough credit to the soundtracks in the more recent games. Assassin's Creed Odyssey had an amazing soundtrack. In fact, when I made my video ranking every soundtrack in the franchise, it was Assassin's Creed Odyssey that came in first place. Even Valhalla's soundtrack was amazing, despite me not liking the game that much. And then there is Mirage. The soundtrack is also incredible. In fact, there is one song in that soundtrack named Bloodflower, which I just rinse and repeat throughout my videos. In fact, I've probably used it in this video at some point. And then there is Shadows. Oh boy. Now, I'll be honest, when I first heard that Ezio is family for Shadows, at first I was like, this is ass. But low-key, when you hear a song a few times, it grows on you, and I've started to like it, even if it sounds like some Wild West type beat. Hot take. Black Flag is a meh Assassin's Creed game, but an amazing pirate game, but with dudes with hoods. I both agree and disagree with this hot take. I disagree with the idea that Black Flag is a meh Assassin's Creed game. The Assassin versus Templar conflict is definitely present, and Edward's journey from pirate to assassin is key to the story. Yes, we do not actually see him join the Brotherhood, but you know, if you are actually interested in the lore of Assassin's Creed, then you would read the novel. In Black Flag, Edward starts off as, not caring about the Brotherhood, but by the end, he fully embraces the assassin cause, so it still does have the Assassin's Creed DNA, even if it's not the main focus at first. However, I agree that the game is more focused on naval combat and the pirate theme, which is a big reason why so many people love Black Flag. It's an incredible pirate game, and the naval gameplay was a huge change that made it feel so different from the previous entries. That's why it stands out. People who might not normally be into Assassin's Creed games gave it a shot because of the pirate angle. But just because it has a strong pirate theme does not mean it's lacking in Assassin's Creed content. It blends the best of both worlds, giving us a pretty good pirate adventure while still connecting to the larger Assassin vs Templar story. Altair is overrated. Fans have some weird blind following for and put him in a pedestal. Maybe just nostalgia bias since he's the first Assassin MC. I kind of disagree with this hot take. Altair is not overrated. If anything, he's actually underrated. People tend to focus more on characters like Ezio, Edward and Connor and Bayek, I guess, but Altair is the foundation of the entire series. Sure, he doesn't have the same flashy personality as Ezio, but that doesn't make him any less important. His journey is a classic redemption arc, and he goes from being a reckless, arrogant assassin in the first game, which I kind of disliked, to one of the most influential and respected leaders in the Assassin Brotherhood. He's responsible for creating many of the Assassin's key principles. He changed the creed entirely, and his legacy is felt throughout the entire franchise. People sometimes forget just how much Assassin's Creed built on what Altair started. Also, Altair was more fleshed out in later games, especially in Assassin's Creed Revelations, where we saw the full scope of his life and contributions to the Brotherhood. He may not be loud or flashy as some of the other protagonists, as I said, but his importance as a character should not be overlooked. So no, Altair is not overrated. It's more like he doesn't get enough credit for everything he did, and how much of the series is shaped by his actions. None of the playable assassins would stand a chance against Abstergo on their own. Ooh, now this is a good hot take. It's one that is definitely up there for discussion. On one hand, Abstergo definitely has the upper hand when it comes to resources, like guns, advanced technology, and the sheer number of people working for them. They're a massive corporation, and taking them down head on would be almost impossible for any single assassin. However, that's not what the assassins are trained to do. They spent their years mastering the art of stealth, blending into crowds and using their surroundings to stay hidden. An assassin's strength comes from striking from the shadows, gathering intel, and strategically taking out targets without being detected. They're skilled at using the environment to level the playing field, even when the odds are against them. So while Abstergo has the firepower to wipe out assassins in a direct confrontation, the assassin's trainings and methods are specifically designed to counter that. An assassin, working alone, might not bring down all of Abstergo, but they could definitely strike some big blows without ever being seen. A black samurai is way more interesting than a Japanese one. Ooh, careful with this one. He'll upset a certain group of people. Anyway, I kind of agree with it in some aspects. Yasuke in real history is a person whose life is mysterious and unknown for large parts. Whether he's a samurai or not, that's a whole different debate. I'm focusing on his life after what we know of. So having him as a protagonist is literally the best thing Assassin's Creed could do to fill in those blanks and create a memorable story about him. But then on the other hand, I also kind of understand where people come from in that a Japanese samurai is more interesting. People have waited for an Assassin's Creed game set in Japan for so goddamn long, and to see quite a few people have a meltdown not having a male Japanese protagonist is kind of understandable. But it's also not like Yasuke is some race swapped character. He's a literal real person that existed. Oh, and there is also Naoe, the Japanese protagonist, but hey, it's a bloody woman, right? Desmond's modern day story was good all the way through, and during the time we should have appreciated it more. This is unfortunately true. Looking back, Desmond's modern day story tied the whole Assassin's Creed narrative together and gave the historical parts more meaning. Desmond was, the bridge between all the different time periods, and his journey from a bartender to somebody carrying the weight of the world was something special. At that time, a lot of people complained about the modern day segments, but they really added depth to the series. Now the modern day story has shifted so much, and it's kind of complete ass in a way. It's pretty clear that Desmond's story had a sense of continuity and purpose that's kind of missing now. It was building up something massive, and by the time we reached his final moments in Assassin's Creed 3, we did not fully realize just how important he was. So yeah, we should have appreciated him more. Like they say, you don't know what you have until it's gone. Assassin's Creed should not be 100% historically accurate. That is too constricting for storytelling. I agree with this 100%. Assassin's Creed should not aim to be 100% historically accurate because, it would really limit the creative freedom needed to tell a memorable story. Part of what makes the series so good is how it takes these real historical events with its own unique story twist, adding things like the Pieces of Eden, the Assassins vs Templar conflict, and even the Ezio mythology. Being too strict with historical accuracy would take away the fun and creativity that makes Assassin's Creed what it is. The franchise thrives on reimagining history and giving you the chance to experience it in a way that's entertaining but, still feels grounded. If the developers were tied down to every single fact, it would make Assassin's Creed more like a history lesson than a game, and that would take away from the experience and make it pretty boring. So yeah, historical accuracy is important, don't get me wrong, but it should not hold back the storytelling. Assassin's Creed Rogue had the best set piece mission, which is the Lisbon mission out of all the Assassin's Creed games. This man is spitting facts. The Lisbon mission in Assassin's Creed Rogue is one of the best set pieces in the entire franchise. The way the earthquake tears through the city while you're trying to escape is well done, and if anything, I wish we could have explored Lisbon a bit more, but that's a topic for another video. And speaking of another video, I'm actually planning to make a video covering the best set pieces in Assassin's Creed, because there is so much to talk about. Missions like the Captain Kidd treasure hunts in Assassin's Creed 3 have amazing sequences and exploration, and there is also the modern day sections in Assassin's Creed 3 with the whole New York stuff, the MMA stuff, and the Abstergo facility stuff. There are a lot of other great set pieces throughout the series that deserve recognition too. There should be an Assassin's Creed game set in South Asia, like India, Bangladesh and Pakistan. Believe me, South Asia has some great stories to tell. Oh, I believe you, alright. This right here is the truth. South Asia, with its, rich history and culture, would be an incredible setting for an Assassin's Creed game. Well, a mainline one, that is. There are so many potential stories and myths from India, Bangladesh and Pakistan that could be explored. You've got, the Mughal Empire, ancient dynasties and real historical battles that would make for some seriously good storytelling. On top of that, the mythology in this region offers a lot of potential for Pieces of Eden. Imagine, exploring ancient temples and uncovering artifacts tied to powerful figures from the Hindu, Buddhist or Islamic mythology. Pieces of Eden could be connected to gods like Vishnu, Shiva or Durga, each with powers. Plus the region has a history of ancient warfare and secret societies, which would fit quite perfectly with the Assassins vs Templar conflict. I mean, there's even the opportunity to dive into colonial history, resistance movements and legendary freedom fighters. South Asia has so many interesting tales, both historical and mythical, that would fit beautifully into a potential Assassin's Creed game. To be honest, Ubisoft has only scratched the surface with this region, and a full game set there would be pretty cool if it ever happened. I love the tower defense minigame in Revelations. And yeah, to end it off, this is a big no. I'm sorry, but I feel like it's okay to say things how they are, even if it is unpopular. The tower defense minigame in Revelations is not fun, and it is so unnecessary and out of place. It's okay to be different, but this is just too far. So there we have it. Those are your Assassin's Creed hot takes. A lot of them were surprisingly pretty good ones. Of course, I received hundreds of hot takes, so don't worry if your hot take was not mentioned in this video. Do remember that this is an ongoing series, so maybe it's going to be featured in the next episode. Anyway, shout out as always to the members of my Patreon, and with that said, I'll see you in the next one.